Hello and welcome, my lovely patrons. Today we're going to be talking about structures for housing for all of your SHTF guests. Now, it's extremely important that your guests feel very welcome in all the chaos around them. So, because my good friend and brother Buzzard Roost asked me, where should I put all these people? I figured we should do a video on it. And I was like, I'll take some notes and stuff. So, it's also really important because they're gonna be stressed out that you just don't make any really loud noises. Just kidding. Where do you put all these people who are gonna show up at your house when you're like, the world's ending and stuff? I'm coming to your house, man. Or, hey, why don't you come to my house when things get crazy? Cool. Now what? So, we're gonna go through that just a little bit. And so the reason he asked this is specifically he said structures for housing SHTF guests don't want to build now due to an increase on my taxes. Because, property taxes are in large part based around the number of and condition of and even type of structures on your property. Yay, government! So... Gosh, I hate bureaucrats. And I hate taxes even more. Sorry, I just did. So, I'm going to try to not say bad things about the .gov and instead focus on the task at hand. Structures for housing SHTF guests don't want to build now due to taxes. Build a barn. Barns will hold all kinds of things, including people. Put a loft in the barn. And then have a way to seal that loft off so that you can, heat rises, right? You can collect heat up there. You should be very careful if you're trying to heat the barn in winter because barns have a tendency to burn down. So be cognizant of that. But, a pile of hay goes a long way for insulating factor. And if you have sleeping bags or whatever. We have a bunch of hammocks that we recently bought on clearance at Walmart. 400-pound capacity hammocks. They were on sale for $7 a piece. So we bought a half a dozen of them. And I'm thinking if I need to, I'll hang them in between the columns in the barn to house guests if I need to. So a general purpose structure like a barn is a really good idea because it stores things and it can house people. So I would suggest you build a barn. If you don't already have one, get one. Or a shed, not from those people at Lowe's that made Pastor Joe's life miserable. But get you a shed and build it in such a way that you could house some people in there if you needed to. We have long thought about the idea that, your shelving should also be wide enough to fit a person on if they needed to sleep on it. That's something else that Pastor Joe is pretty adamant about, and I think it's wise that if you're going to build a structure, that it be built in such a way that you could put people in it if you needed to. So we also have a policy that will be enacted here when needed, that if a bunch of people show up, we have amongst the two houses here 8 bedrooms. 1 family per bedroom, including us. Yeah, I mean, they're our houses, but including us, 1 family per bedroom. And that's to say nothing of like the 2 living rooms that we have. And then the myriad outbuildings and the barns. So I could, if I had to, gun to my head, if I had to, I could probably handle 12 to 15 families here, space-wise, without getting creative. I'd say 15 max, without getting creative. So families, not people, families. So 75 people, which of course begs the question, do you have the carrying capacity for 75 people? Because I got food, bro, but I don't have 75 people food. I don't have 75 people toilet paper. I don't have 75 people septic system. I don't have 75 people water. I don't have all that. But that's a fun game to play. War game that situation. What if 75 people showed up? Now what? Okay, where are they pooping? What are they drinking? What are we eating? Ideally, they're at least bringing something to eat with. Calories. Whole nother story for another time. That's a tangent. But your question specifically is, I don't want to build structures now. You might consider, if you have a barn, framing the walls up and putting sheathing on them, you know, like the T111 siding or something like that, or just having a stack of it in the barn and have the walls pre-framed so that you can tilt them up and screw them together and nail them together and put a roof on it, a tarp over it, something to get people out of the weather. If you're married to the concept of structures, in most cases a hard-sided structure is better to live in than a soft-sided structure, but you might pre-frame some. Maybe you pour a little foundation somewhere, you know, just a pad, or you have a cleared spot that you know that we intend to erect a structure here if we need to, and that structure is, the wall panels are framed up, and they're framed up in such a way that 2 or 3 men could grab them and move them to where they need to be and stand them up and nail them together, and then pretty quick you've got a structure. That might be something to look at, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a peak roof or a gambrel roof like your traditional barns are, where it comes down like this, where it has 2 sets of angles, or a peak roof like this. It can just be a regular slant roof. Make one wall, you know, 8 feet high, one wall 7 feet high, or you know, 9 foot high, 8 foot high, or whatever, just enough that the rain will flow off of it. And then if you really wanted to get crazy with that, you could also have a tote set aside and a piece of gutter to go on the downside portion of that roof, and some black hose that ran from that gutter into the tote, and now you got water collection for whoever's living in that structure as well. Mind blown. So if you wanted a hard-sided structure, there is a way that you could have something ready to go that you're not getting, man, I hate the government. I was going to say that you're not getting violently raped by the US government et al., localized government, on your taxes based upon that, you know, that structure. So having it ready to go but not standing is a way to do it. Another thing you might look at are wall tents. Again, hard-sided structure typically wins the argument, but wall tents are a way to go. You could also insulate, I'm just thinking, you could also insulate those pre-formed panels or pre-framed panels with like spray insulation rather than bat insulation. So, you know, Ulfhanar tribesman, I need you to comment because you are the insulation guy. So what weighs more, fiberglass batting or spray foam? I think spray foam's more efficient and will seal much better and have more longevity when stored with a bunch of panels stacked side by side on top of each other. But something to think about. You could insulate them as well and be ready to go. Plus, you know, you don't want to be breathing all that fiberglass. So many tangents the brain is going on. Wall tents. Go to, where is it? Shabba-dabba-dabba-da, babba-dabba-da. Over here somewhere, I wrote it down. Okay, Milsurp wall tents, like headquarter tents and the whole nine. RDD USA, okay, .com. Romeo Delta Delta USA USA.com has some. And GOV Liquidation, GOV Liquidation.com. That's a great website. If you have a whole bunch of time to kill, like if you live in cubicle land and you just, like the ones and the zeros are your friend and you have all the free Wi-Fi in the world, go to govliquidation.com. I almost bought a 112-foot Coast Guard cutter off of there for 12 grand. Yeah. Yep. With twin 12,000 horsepower Detroit diesels in it. Getting it from where it was in, you know, California to here would have been an issue, but there's nothing like owning a 112-foot Coast Guard cutter, right? I'm like, why not? It's there. They have everything there. They have literally everything. If you're like, oh, I need some molly gear, good, you can buy a tri-wall of it for, you know, what's that? It's a tall pallet of molly gear for 75 bucks, and it's, you know, got 1,200 magazine pouches in it. Okay, cool. They have everything, including tents and deuce and a halves and 5 tons and Suburbans and everything. If the U.S. military buys it, they have it. And check back and check off. And it's kind of like eBay, but for military surplus stuff. But Don't none of y'all go bidding against me. Okay? Okay, good talk. So you can get wall tents from there. A great way, if you have timber like we do, would be to have a small sawmill, bandsaw mill or an Alaskan mill, that if you needed to, you could fell some trees and make something pretty quick. I intend to get a sawmill here, a small bandsaw mill to start with, because we have a lot of trees and some of them need to come out, and when they come out, I'm gonna make them into something useful. So it'd be cool if you needed to, could you scale the home building capacity? Like, how do you get more materials after the balloon goes up? Well, if you own standing timber and a sawmill and myriad 5-gallon buckets full of 3-inch ring shank framing nails and you know, 20-ounce east wing, you're in business. So there's a way. Another way. RVs, trailers, campers on site. Can you roll one of those on site? You know, and do you have the hookups? Do you want to get into having the hookups? Or is it just an off-grid camper at this point? That might be something to do. I don't know if Connex boxes, you know, shipping containers, would count against your tax levy from your friendly commissar, but you might inquire. Although I do not advocate that people live in shipping containers if you can help it. They are shipping containers for a reason, and it has been my experience that they're fairly labor intensive to turn into living spaces. Storage, no problem. But to insulate, ventilate, deal, and here's the other thing, understand this, guys, you get a lot of condensation inside a shipping container, right? A lot of, especially if you're using like a wet heat like kerosene or propane, you get a lot of condensation inside a shipping container. It's an issue. Well, now you got to ventilate it. Well, if you ventilate it, is it waterproof? If it's not waterproof, everything inside of it's getting wet. And how do you, how do you put in an access door? And also, brief aside, I get this question regularly. Don't bury shipping containers. Shipping container is designed for compressive load from the top down only, this way, okay? Not on the sides. The sides will buckle. I know this. I've seen it. I've been privy to it. I do not approve of burying shipping containers. Okay? Okay. Cool. Moving on. You can build you a sukkah. What's a sukkah? That's Hebrew bushcrafting, dude. You could build one of that. Dwell in booths. It worked for the Hebrews for 40 years. And of course there's the temporary is permanent thing, but sometimes temporary truly needs to be temporary. I need something now. And then once you settle on, you get settled in, okay, I have this now, then you can figure out how do I constantly improve my situation. Dwell in booths. You can commandeer a location. I'm not saying that you should, but I'm saying that you could commandeer a location that had adequate lodging for you and all your people. Potentially like maybe a state park or something that has a whole bunch of cabins in it, or are there hunting cabins in your area, or is there, an abandoned lodge somewhere, or, whatever. Not advocating that, but it's something that you could do. And the more desperate the situation, the more desperate your measures may become. So, again, not advocating that you do that, but it might be something worth thinking about. As an emergency scenario, things go completely south. There's an old motor lodge over that way that has 20 rooms and nobody holds it currently. Okay. How many people do we need to take it? What's our plan of attack? Are we coming in from the northeast, or are we coming in from just due east because of XYZ and the thing and this thing, and where's our overwatch and all of that? It's a thing. You might consider it. You could build a vast underground bunker network. I don't know why I wrote that down. I was probably hallucinating. I think I took this note on a day that I was fasting, so it's entirely possible. You could build a vast underground bunker network and live underneath there until all the irradiated masses starve off and die, and then emerge like a new flower in spring out of the ground. And talk real nice like this so you don't make anybody upset. And you know, getting back to the sawmill thing, maybe have a stack of roofing tin laying around. That's good to have. A couple of cases of Alex caulk, acrylic latex caulk, C-A-U-L-K, all you dirty-minded people out there. A couple cases of that, and a good caulk gun is worth having. And man, a 5-gallon pail full of roofing tar, just Henry roofing tar, a kerosene, you know, a gallon of kerosene for cleanup, or mineral spirits for cleanup, a rag, and a putty knife goes a long way to making things that used to be watertight again. Is it ideal? No, but it's cheap, it's effective, and it's quick. However, whatever it is that you're wearing when you apply roofing tar, that now is your new roofing tar application outfit. There's just, I've yet to apply roofing tar and not apply it to at least as much to myself as to whatever it is that I'm working on. So there's a data point for you. And that's pretty much what I got. So you might also look at what type of exemptions can you get on your property. You know, can you get an agricultural exemption? And if so, would that mitigate the increase in taxes that you would have if you built a structure now, anticipating somebody coming to coming to your property post SHTF? Worth looking into, at least says me. So I think probably the most reasonable, easiest to do right now for us, and probably for most other people, is consolidate. 1 family per bedroom. It's not comfy. It's not necessarily easy, but it is simple. 1 family per bedroom. Smiths, you're in this hallway bedroom. Joneses, you're in this hallway bedroom. Morrises, we're upstairs in the master suite, or whatever. And then, the Billy Bobs, you're over here at Grandma's house in this bedroom, right? And the Joe Bobs, you're over here. And the Susie Bobs, you're over here. And the Stacy Bobs, you're over here. So forth and so on. And, congratulations, y'all get the barn. But it's, you were last. Get here sooner, you get a better bedroom. Get here last, you get the barn, right? And I mean, we have, without getting too OPSEC-y, we have several people whom we love and who love us back that have camper trailers, RVs, things like that, that they know, come here. We have room for you. Come here. And they are part of our team and our extended tribe. And that's a thing that we intend to do, is just back your trailer and you'll be off grid. Don't get married to that gray water tank. And if you are, that's your responsibility, not mine. Because I'd much prefer you pooped in a 5-gallon bucket with some septic safe TP and some peat moss. But anyway, that's a way as well. So if you're adamant that you build a structure, I think pre-framing some panels, wall panels, would be a good way to go. And you can frame them, maybe you frame them 4 foot wide, 8 foot high, and you're gonna make a 20 foot deep by 12 wide. Okay, so that'd be what, 16 panels, right? And you have 2 door panels, 2 of them that have doors, and then you have 4 of them that have windows in them, right? And then the rest of them are just straight panels. You got 10 just wall panels, and they all just kind of line them all up, screw them together, put your top plate on, put them to the ground. Maybe you have a base plate and a top plate, and you screw them all together, and in a day you could probably have a structure up pretty quick. That's how I see it going. And then have pre-cut joists, or rafters rather, that would lay over the top, right? Pre-cut. If you're 12 foot wide, you'd probably want them 14 foot long, maybe even 16 foot long if you want a porch on the backside, whatever. Right? And most of that metal sheeting comes 2 foot increments from 8 foot long up to 20 foot long. So you can get a stack of that, have it ready to go. It's laying in the barn underneath the tarp. Oh no, the world ended. What do? Put the shed up. And we know it takes 3 guys and it'll take a day, but when we're done, we've got another 200 or however, what did we say? 12 by 20? Yeah, another 240 square feet. That's enough to put a family in for sure. Maybe even 2 if the situation is dire. So that's my thoughts on that. I think consolidation is probably the #1 thing. And then also encourage, if anybody is coming to you, make sure they're as squared away as they can be. It just helps. The more personal responsibility everybody takes for themselves and their situation and their tribe and their family, the less you have to do when they get there. So, you know, I want good people to show up, but I also want good people to show up with as much food as possible, and weaponry and the training to know how to use it, and medical gear and a proficiency in that, and squared away radios, and, you know, a good understanding of gardening and animal husbandry, and the expectation that things aren't going to be easy, but they will be good. You just need to contribute. So it's not just showing up, and it's not just having a place for somebody to land. It's all the other things too. And I know you, brother. I know you in real life, and I know you're squared away, and I know you're a damn good guy, so I don't doubt that you're doing all of these things. In fact, I'm looking forward to seeing you again, and we have a call coming up in the near future as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Shalom.